Before I joined Art Storefronts, I was under the delusion that because I have this marketing background, because my art's kind of cool, that it would just be like a year or two of hard work and then I could quit my job. And then I went through like a period where I felt bad about myself because that wasn't happening. But then when you're in this community with thousands and thousands of other artists, you do realize that it is a long game and it is a hustle and it's okay. Like I feel like I've given myself this break. I am seeing every year, I'm growing my email list, I'm growing on socials, and I'm getting more sales and more customers. Somebody commissioned me. They had a song that they loved. They wanted me to interpret the song. And at first I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to do that? I don't really know where to go with it. And so I gave him like 5 options. He picked that one and gave me complete freedom of like colors and everything else. And that is now my best-selling print.
Wow.
And that started like, okay, I can do a custom piece for your favorite song. And so I've done several now with that kind of idea in mind.
Yeah.
But I never would have done that without Art Storefronts kind of like supporting that idea of it's a business, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to start making sales, you got to do customs.
All right, guys, Patrick from Art Storefronts back with you again, doing another customer interview, and I'm completely thrilled to have the talented Karen Payton here, who, by the way, I did not know until today. You're a fabric artist. You and I talked like 10 times.
How did you not know that?
You're a fabric artist. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pin asking people for comments. Do you notice how my little avatar has my Instagram handle underneath it? See if you can get that on yours. I'll show off your Instagram profile too. It should be up there in like comments or names. Have a question for Karen? Leave a comment. Harry says, "What's up?" Harry knows you. Yeah, I honestly, like, I did not know she was a fabric artist. We've talked like probably like 10 times, and I did not even know she was a fabric artist until today, because I get like comments all the time about like, is this for fabric artists? Is this something that you know that can work at Art Storefronts? And so why don't you just tell us who you are, where you're from, and what is a fabric artist exactly? Let's start there.
Sure. I'm Karen Payton. I'm originally from Chicago, but my home is now Southern California.
Nice. Wait, we're in Southern California.
I'm in the Ventura County area.
Nice.
And I've been here since the 90s. So this is now my home, and I'm very happy here.
Yeah.
So I studied textiles in college. And I used to do these tiny little embroidered pictures, and then spent years and years trying to figure out how to make my art a little bit bigger and not so time consuming as it would be to stitch every little thing. And so I started learning the art of fabric applique. So that's the technical term for what I do. And I use a lot of recycled clothing. Friends just leave stuff at my doorstep. I get jeans, I get bed sheets, pillowcases, napkins, all kinds of things. And so I take the pieces, I dye them, and I stitch them together and then stretch them onto a canvas. And then because it's so time consuming to make each piece, I spend a lot of time removing backgrounds or changing it and adding words or doing little things to turn them into prints and t-shirts and tote bags and mugs and, you know, all the good stuff that doesn't cost as much as an original.
What do your originals start at, just out of curiosity, knowing how much time you put into this thing?
They start at between like $250 and $300 for the smallest ones. And then up to $3,500 for a really big one.
Up to $3,500 for a really big one. And how have you navigated so far turning those things into prints? And do you feel like it translates and the product is still pretty awesome that comes out as a print?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It turns out really awesome. I sell a ton of merchandise, and that's how I found Art Storefronts, because I started getting sales on Redbubble and TeePublic and places like that. And I knew it wasn't a good long-term plan, but at least it proved to me that I could sell my stuff. And so, yeah, I think it sometimes is a little hard because, like you, people don't know what they're looking at. Even when I have it in an art show in a booth, people don't know what they're looking at. Like they'll ask me that, what is this? Is
Yeah.
it a
How did you make
what is
this? Yeah.
so I get that a lot, which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? It makes it interesting and gives you something to talk about, but it does take me a bit to explain it and to make people understand what their eyes are seeing. But the prints really help because, a print can last forever. A fabric piece, if you put it behind glass, it might last forever, but it also could fade or start to fray or,
Yeah.
get lint, things like that.
Yeah, that's sort of the character of it, though. It's like one of those things that like you don't realize how amazing it is until you see it in person, which is, a blessing and a curse, right? It makes it a little bit harder to articulate what it looks like online. So you've been with us like what, a year at least, or is it barely?
No, it's been 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
God, I just do not want to acquiesce to the fact that I'm aging this quickly. 3 years, that's amazing. And how you found that journey so far in 3 years, translating into having prints, having merch, having all these additional items, and like what are your primary ways of selling it? I know obviously with us you're working on online, but are you still doing a bunch of in-person shows and fairs and that?
No, I mean, I have a job, so I work part-time in marketing. My goal is to become a full-time artist, just like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying this because we're on video. I am so grateful to Art Storefronts. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I feel like I was thinking about this the other day, especially with like the image that you're putting up. I was thinking about I love rock and roll documentaries. That's like my favorite thing to watch.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about bands and how they're artists, but they get this team, right? Like they play off of each other and they write songs together and they compose together and they perform together. But like as an artist, I'm sitting by myself in my room doing everything. And Art Storefronts is like having a bandmate, right? Right? Because it's like I finally get like a little bit of relief where I don't have to feel like I'm by myself. I have
you against the world. It's so true.
And
so powerful.
If I have if I sold a print and the person is telling me it never came or it's damaged or they want it in a certain way and I don't know how to do it, like boom, I can email customer support and I get someone to talk to, even if it's on a Saturday. And that's like for a small artist, that's priceless. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would go as far to say like, what you said was so insightful. Did you figure that out because you have a background in marketing, or you just figured that out because you're smart? Because what we've learned over the years is like the number one death knell to artists, the number one reason that things stop, is because they don't have any support. They're at it by themselves alone. The road gets tough and you check out, you check out. And it's funny. I have it on my soundboard because I've been talking about it so much, but have you heard me reference the Hotel California problem?
No.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
It's this notion that I see. And it's like this recurring theme that I've seen nonstop talking to so many hundreds of artists that I do a year, thousands, tens of thousands. You try doing it on your own because you're the one-man band, because you don't have anyone to collaborate with, because you don't have any help. Inevitably, the road gets tough and you're like, I just can't do this anymore. I need to take a break. And so you take a break. But the muse doesn't leave your shoulder ever. The muse, it says, keep creating. You want to do this. You can do this. This is like the most fulfilling thing. It doesn't ever go away. So you check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. You just lose the time. And so whatever it takes to keep you motivated, to keep you going forward, to get you out of the funks that we all fall into as entrepreneurs, creators, that's the whole ballgame. Because as long as you keep taking the painful steps forward, you're going to get there. Yeah. That's it. It's the whole ballgame.
And I also think that before I joined Art Storefronts, I was under the delusion that, that because I have this marketing background, because my art's kind of cool, that it would just be like a year or two of hard work and then I could quit my job. And, then I went through like a period where I felt bad about myself because that wasn't happening. But then when you're in this community with thousands and thousands of other artists, you do realize that it is a long game and it is a hustle and it's okay. Like, I feel like I've given myself this break of Yeah, it's not, and I am seeing every year, I'm growing my email list, I'm growing on socials, and I'm getting more sales and more customers. And, I've really done well. Like last year was my best year. This has been my best, first quarter
Hmm.
ever. But I do work really, really hard. You
Yeah.
know, I I do hustle constantly. I don't do a lot of outdoor marketing. I
Mhm.
don't have a lot of shows that I'm in, so it is a lot of online sales. But I feel like being part of the Art Storefronts community has given me like that knowledge and foundation of knowing that this is a long game and that it is not realistic to think it's going to happen overnight.
It's so hard to say, right? Because you're on office hours all the time, and it's like, you've got people there that have been there for like 2 years or 3 years, and they don't feel like they're moving fast enough. And it's like, well, I've tried everything you said. Like I've given it my all. And our default go back to advice is like, it's supposed to be a struggle. It's supposed to be a grind. It's supposed to be hard. You have to stay at it. But it's hard to give that because it's such cliche advice, right? But then you start breaking down some of the most successful customers we have, then every single solitary one of them did that grind. All of
Right.
them. Everyone
Right.
has to do that grind. There's no shortcut to that grind. Like every single solitary successful creative has gone through that grind. We all have to just keep doing it. So the fact that you're there and you have that going on already is crazy. And like, look, it's not a race. Everyone gets there at their own path and their own pace, doing what they can when they can, you know,
Yeah.
and that's just part of it. I wanted to ask too about the Grateful Dead being a theme, right? Like, where did you start out going right into the Grateful Dead? Well, first of all, let's go all the way, way, way back. Did the love affair with the Grateful Dead start when you were, a kid, or
Yes. In
yeah,
high school.
in high school? So
Yeah.
you went to a bunch of shows and the whole thing.
Yes. So, yeah, I was one of those kids that I started listening in high school, and then in college, I would, during all my breaks during the summer, I would follow them around. I would go to all the
Wow.
shows. And so my art's always been, influenced by the Grateful Dead, but it wasn't
Mhm.
so obvious like Grateful Dead stuff in the beginning. And
Mhm.
honestly, I was so afraid of going down that like narrow niche at first, right? Like I was really afraid that I would turn people off by doing that. And then during the pandemic, I got like even weirder as a person, and I got really into Ram Dass and listening to chanting and the Hare
Mhm.
Krishna stuff. I got
Mhm.
really into it, and so I started doing a lot of work on that, and that started gaining a lot of momentum. So for honestly, for the first year that I decided to create a business, I had a portrait of Jerry Garcia and a portrait of Ram Dass, and that's
Mhm.
all that sold all the time.
Wow.
Everyone was only buying those two things. And I felt like really excited, like I was onto something, but
Mhm.
that was all I was selling. And those are still my two, like, best sellers.
Yeah.
But I think that at some point, what really made a big change for me was my Instagram account got hacked. So I was like
Mhm.
on this really good trajectory. I was starting to get sales. I was getting a lot of social media sales. Then my Instagram account got hacked and I went into like this dark, oh
Yeah.
my God. Because you know how hard it is. Like it took me forever to get like 3,000
Forever.
followers. And it was
Yeah.
right at that point that Reels came out and everybody was starting to like gain momentum again.
Mhm.
And I didn't know what to do. I was like frozen and it really hurt my business. And I made this decision like, I'm going to just suck it up and I'm going to go start again and start fresh. And I'm going to go full in on Facebook because my Instagram has nothing. So I never really enjoyed Facebook as much as Instagram just seemed a little easier and more fun, but I'm like I'm
Yeah.
going to go headfirst into Facebook cuz that's where my audience is right now. And I grew my Facebook account. I doubled it during that time because I was nurturing it. I really got involved in a lot of Facebook groups. My Grateful Dead Facebook groups just like wrapped their arms around me and supported me.
That's so
And
bad.
I got so many sales from there. And it was more than just that because I gained friends, like people that I met in person and would invite me to vend at places and just I just like embraced that path and stopped being so afraid of like being this Grateful Dead artist.
Yeah, that's amazing. And during the pandemic, it happened to us too.
That's right.
Yeah, because I think I was saying the word COVID too much, and then that like triggered their filters. And even with all the money that we spend on ads and like actually having someone at Facebook we could talk to rather than the black hole, it still took them 6 months. So we had to go start a second one, and so we had to start a second one and start from scratch. So I know all too well the struggles, and you got folks asking. So you can actually see under her name, you guys, her Instagram account is at Karen Payton Artist. So if you just look right under her name, I'll make us a little bit bigger so it's a little bit clearer, easier to see. You guys should definitely follow her on Instagram. She's got a ton of just amazing work on there. So I love the fact that 3 years in, you've seen the steady growth. It's not been hockey stick, but year after year, you're getting better. And in all that time, you stayed consistent, huh?
Yeah. I am I'm a grinder.
Yeah.
I'm consistent. Well, now I have to say I'm a marketing person too. I'm lucky in that. And I actually love, I feel like I'm probably similar to you. I actually kind of love the mystery of social media and trying to hack it and trying to figure out well, what's working this week, right? And analyzing what didn't work and trying new things. And I don't, it took me years to get over myself. I'm not young. I'm not going to dance. I'm not, whatever. But once I got over that and I started not being so afraid and I don't really think it's that hard to figure out, but I think that you have to be willing to put the time in and kind of study what's working with other people to kind of have it work for yourself.
You do. And you have to be contrarian about it, right? It's like, I always use the fishing line, but if your job is an artist and my job marketing art storefronts, if we're just fishermen, well, you get up in the morning and you drive the boat to where the fish are. And it turns out the fish are on this damn near 24 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. And all you have to do is get decent at storytelling there and you can get their attention. And, I don't know if you saw the information that came out today, but just today, they're talking about how they are going to essentially find out who is the original creator of the work.
I saw that.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. Instagram keeps skewing more and more, and Meta by association keeps skewing more and more towards valuing the creator and giving the creator a bigger voice. And it's like, look, in our day when we were coming up, we were geographically limited to wherever we lived. That was as good as you could do. You couldn't get the word out. You couldn't build an international following. You couldn't find your Grateful Dead community. It wasn't so easy to do. And now you can 100% do it digitally, which is insane.
And I think, the other thing, just getting back to Facebook, is that, I try and be a good listener because I do look at this. I do love art and I am in it to be an artist, but I also am a businesswoman and I want to quit my job. So I want to make money doing this. And the only way to really monetize it is to listen. What do people want? And not just make what I want to make. And I think it could be a little bit of both. So the one that's in the background, for instance, somebody commissioned me. They had a song that they loved. They wanted me to interpret the song. And at first I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? The song has, so many lyrics and I don't really know where to go with it. And so I gave him 5 options. He picked that one and gave me complete freedom of colors and everything else. And that is now my best-selling print.
Wow.
And that started this okay, I can do a custom piece for your favorite song. And so I've done several now with that kind of idea in mind.
Yeah.
But I never would have done that without Art Storefronts kind of supporting that idea of it's a business, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to start making sales, you got to do customs, because I was really stubborn about that. I don't want to do, I don't want to do custom work, but this one just started a whole chain of, and after this one, I did another song, another Grateful Dead song, and that's also become a best-selling print. And what really works for me is, like I said before, I remove the background and then it becomes a t-shirt. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll add words to it and then it becomes a greeting card. And, then it's got more legs to it. And so
100%.
I don't really look at it as like, oh, I'm just going to make, $300 off this custom piece. I look at it like, well, how can other people enjoy this just as much,
Exactly right. And, he or she who's closest to the customer wins, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I've advocated for a number of years now is whether you have any intention of doing commissions as an artist or not, you need to have a commissions button on your website. And even for you, I kind of want to see one in the story highlights, like, have a commissions button here where you explain it. Right. And I like the ones that you have. I love the jazzy colors that you have here, but the point to stay on the commissions thing is what the commissions button represents is not just you getting a custom one-off order to do something. It represents a person saying, Karen, I really like your creative. I don't want anything that you've currently created. I want this. And your job, independent if you make it or don't make it, is to say, whoa, somebody is holding a credit card above their head and saying, make something. What do they know that I don't? Is there a new opportunity for me here? Is this what my audience actually wants to see? And I feel like artists get so discouraged. Photographers get so discouraged. They create the body of work that they love, that's easy to do, that's their backyard, that's their passion. And they put it up and you get fans and followers and you get a bunch of likes and comments and shares and all of that, but doesn't necessarily translate to sales. You didn't fail. You got a bunch of people's attention. You just haven't found the right avenue yet. So being open all the time for those commissions and for the various different rabbit holes they lead you down, big deal. Huge deal,
Okay, so I did a commissions contest. This was kind of risky, where I offered up a free custom piece.
Okay.
And I did a Google form for the survey, and I kept it kind of short. I didn't say what size it was going to be. I didn't, said free custom. I actually, delusionally, I thought it was going to get hundreds of people responding because it would be free, but I got 45 responses, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I really got 45 solid ideas, and I would say maybe a quarter of them were repeats. So it kind of showed me, oh, people really like my landscapes, which is not something I feel like I'm good at, but I got a bunch of people that said landscapes. It took me 2 months to do this, but I sent an email back to every single person who responded and thanked them for entering and sent them a coupon code and said, I love your idea. Let's explore it. I'm sorry I didn't pick you. Something like that. Yeah. I wrote back every single person. It took me a long time. It was, at first I was like, why am I doing this? Maybe 1 or 2 people responded and said, thanks. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, there you go. I got another big custom order from someone who had entered. They'd never bought anything from me before. I don't know how they found me, but that made the whole thing worth it. It was, and it was a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're doing a number of smart things there, like responding to all those people is the thing that doesn't scale. It's hard to do, but you're building know, like, and trust in the subtle psychology of reciprocation. She cares about me. She took the time to respond. I feel that bond now. And all of a sudden they come back, and it's like, it literally is like putting money into the retirement account, and then making sure it's invested and then forgetting about it, and time and pressure, on these interviews all the time. I'm hearing from people that are like, this person said they love my work and they were so awesome. And it was so awesome. I thought I was going to get a huge order and I didn't hear from them. And 3 years later, they came in and they're like, now I'm finally ready. And because you were marketing consistently, they're like, boom, and here this big order comes in. So the compounding effect is just so tremendously real. One question I have for you. So my neighbor across the street is one of these flag guys. Okay. And I'm not talking like flagpole, but I'm talking like, flag, the little bracket that goes on like the eave of your house and the pole goes out and there's like a flag that comes down. And he's got a couple of sports ones and he's got a couple of political ones. I'm not going to say which political ones, because let's not get into it. But I think that's actually an interesting market. The people that have those flags that could constantly rotate them, for whatever the occasion is. I feel like that's another product that we need to get into, because that's a killer thing to do home decor wise. And it's like, man, you get somebody to buy one of those flags. Which
I was just going to say, here in Ventura, we were supposed to have a huge concert weekend last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and the festival got canceled, but a bunch of deadheads made it all kind of work out in the end. And so there was a block of rooms, a hotel that's on the beach here, and everybody, that's what they want. They want to hang like some kind of art over their balcony. every
Mhm.
time you go to these festivals. So yeah, I could totally see that being
Yeah,
good.
I feel like you need to give that a crack. Figure out. We'd have to figure out who a vendor is, see if we couldn't help them put some weight on
Yeah.
it. But those things can't be that difficult to do. And there's decent margins. You could definitely charge $150 per flag, maybe even two. If it comes with a pole and all wrapped up and the whole thing in the box, we gotta look into that. Note to self. What advice 3 years in would you have for Karen year one? Do you go back in the time machine right now and
Yeah, it would be to hang in there and take it slow and not to be so hard on myself. I think it just takes it's a long, long road, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's supposed to be that way because we have
Mhm.
to figure out who we are. And I think that takes like figuring out who you are, not just as an artist, but like who you are as a brand. I know that sounds very marketing, but it's true because
True.
we're all like unique individuals, but we can only show so much on social media, and you kind of have to figure out which part of yourself you're going to show and how to be authentic while doing it, because people want to buy from people, and I know you said this is what you hear from all the other artists, but I honestly nurture and love all the people that follow me. I reply to everybody. I have like maybe 3 to 5 what I call like my cheerleaders, and
Yeah.
most of them are I just never met them in person, but I'm picturing that they're retired and they have a lot of time and they're on the platform and this is their community. And some of them have been following me since my new account, so it's been 2.5 years, and
Yeah.
they share every post, they reply to every post. And I send them cards and I write them back. And you know what? This year they've both started placing orders.
There you go. Those
And
are the super fans will be with you for life now.
yeah, it doesn't matter what you order from me. I'm always going to include a handwritten note. I'm always going to give you a sticker or a bookmark or something that will keep myself, in your mind. And I think it's just worth doing.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, Luna's watching on YouTube and she's like, and the car seat covers too. I love all the ideas, like, of the various different products that we can sort of expand into as we continue to grow in this, because at the end of the day, like, you have a creative talent. You want to figure out how to monetize it. Like, what do we care which way that you end up doing that? Right. Like, I'm becoming so much more flexible on, it doesn't matter if there's a revenue source there and it's legal, we're all in. Like, we're all in. Right.
Well, and I think that for me, I used to be really hard on myself when my originals didn't sell. And I still have, some that have been here for a couple of years.
Mhm.
But knowing that I can monetize it in other ways, that's huge. And knowing that I have more to offer, right? That there's more than just it's like this vending opportunity I just went to. People aren't going to walk away with a piece of they're at a concert. They don't want a $300 piece of art.
Yeah.
But you know what? I sold 50 of my little cards, right? So it's like if you need to have that.
You need to have that. And again, you hear me talk fundamentally about like what the non-wall art represents. Everyone thinks like, I'm not going to sell that chintzy stuff. Like, I just don't care. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to make any money on it. It's just marketing. It's just customer acquisition. It's just how inexpensively can you acquire a customer and get an email address where you wouldn't before? Because I know if I track your business over the next 10 years, the revenue potential of your business will be directly proportional to the number of new customers you acquire per year. Just facts. Because the easiest customer to get is the one that you already have. All right, you got a question from Janice, and shout out to Janice. We know Janice on Art Storefronts or on office hours all the time. Do you okay this fabric on canvas by hand or by machine?
By machine.
By machine. So you're like straight up sewing ninja at this juncture.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. You could get a job at Patagonia, which is also almost Inventura, right? Because
my best friend works there. She's the art director. Yeah.
Okay, because it's Inventura, isn't it?
It's Inventura, yeah.
And they like repair every single solitary garment that you like send back to them because it's like their ethos and everything. I read his book, which was really good. Let my people go surfing. Ambush question. If there's one thing and only one thing we could improve at Art Storefronts, what would it be?
Okay, well, don't take this the wrong way.
I will not. That's why I asked.
I really miss, I feel like something's shifted in the office hours. Maybe it's me or maybe it's you guys, but I really miss like, I feel like when I used to come to office hours, there weren't as many people who are just learning like the basics of things. And there was more in-depth, like ideas being thrown out, more people that were sort of, I'm not saying we're all at different levels. I've been at the bottom too, but more people that were at like a mid-level who had like, I just got this opportunity. Can we brainstorm ideas? So it was more of that. I miss that.
Yeah. I think we did it. We did it early on, with the Tuesday, Thursday split, where Thursday you were supposed to be like a little bit more sophisticated artist. And then like Tuesday, you're just getting started. But it's sort of the idea that like we're dumping all the freshmen into a class with the seniors, right?
Yeah.
And the graduate students, like at a point that's not going to work. So we're going to have to figure out how to separate that out. And even if it's separated out, like anybody can come to anything, of course, but just the tone of the conversation and the questions, is there. And we tried to solve that with the breakout rooms. But I see Tom and Millicent right now. They're both like, yes, we need more advanced sessions. You agree? They agree with the feedback being shared. Janice is like, amen to that. So we just got a whole entire raft of customers saying, okay, loud and clear. I hear you. I am screenshotting this, all of you guys. Yeah.
There was something about Taylor that he just like, I liked the way his brain would work. And I felt like when people would ask him questions, he went down like a path that like always, I would never have thought of the things that he had said. And I just felt like there was more people that were coming and saying, hey, I got this opportunity. I've got a gift. I'm going to go into this new store or I'm going to do this new show. And he would just be like, well, here's what you should do. And I don't know. I felt like I was taking notes during that time. And
yeah. I feel like we need, it's also helpful to have like the different voices. Like, in the beginning, it was just Nick and I on every single solitary one, and then Taylor on him a bunch, and now Juan and Inder are doing a bunch. So I like the fact that we have different voices and different perspectives, but total feedback noted on that. Yeah. And Hava's, I know, launching a new webinar session where there's just going to be more like high level talks too. So we're in process. We're in process on all of the above. Awesome interview. Hit everything that I wanted to hit. What is one marketing thing I can help you with right now that you're struggling with?
I just need more sales.
Yeah.
There's a huge one for you.
Yeah.
I just need more sales so I can quit my job.
Yes. What would be the income threshold that you feel like your business would need to be at? And if you're uncomfortable sharing what that number is.
No, I'm not. And it's not that high because luckily, I'm married and I'm never been the breadwinner. So it's all just extra. I think like if I could so I'll just be honest, like when I started at Art Storefronts, I was at like 9,000 a year. Then I had like my first year, I got up to like 12 or 14 and then it went back down because I lost Instagram and I didn't do anything for a while. Last year I was at 25. If I could get to like 40 or 50, that would be a good number for me.
Yeah. You're there. You're on that path for sure. It's just how are we going to pour the gas on it? And you're overdoing in-person events, right?
And I feel like because I work a lot, the in-person events are hard for me. I feel like that would probably help me to get there.
Yeah.
But
you're also in Southern California, which is why I have to doubly recommend it because we obviously have we have very wealthy communities and shows very close to where we live,
Right. The art show playbook is just my Bible. I re-listen to the podcast. I reread it every time. I do this little sign and I have a Jerry Garcia art piece and then I have a Harry Styles one. I have people vote Harry versus Jerry.
Yeah, that's creative.
They can scan the QR code for whichever one. And that is just my gold mine because people walk in and, they don't know what to do. And so right away, I just like, okay. And you're always like, everyone's either in one camp or the other. I rarely get someone who doesn't have an opinion. It's really fun. Then they get their friends to do it. And I just follow everything in the playbook. Even though I really only do one big art show a year, I love it. And it's really helped me.
Yeah. The advice I always give is like, and this comes from knowing how hard the digital portion is and how much of a grind the digital portion is, right? Like it's also, in some ways easier because it's like we don't have to leave our house. We don't have to do anything. We have to be uncomfortable. Yeah, we have to do some posts and post extra. But the in-person is always just such an incredible accelerant, right?
Yeah.
It always just is, you know?
Yeah.
And I know like time away from family, you know, you work all week, you want to be in your feet all day on a Saturday. But even if like you just commit to doing 4 a year, right? You know, I think, God, it's just that if I could go back and give my like young artist self, if I was an artist, let's just say, the advice would be like, okay, dude, when you're in your 20s, you're hammering that for a decade and you're not going to stop, right? Because there's just to have that many different reps and sets and conversations and opportunities to talk to people and what you learn and, you know, to acquire customers. And then you join that with the digital efforts and like everything the playbooks teach, and you know, you can really cook with gas. But okay, we're going to work on it. And I do feel like I want to get into some more giveaways. And I know you've tried that in the past, but I'm working that new playbook up currently.
Oh yes. Yeah. I'd asked for that.
Good. Yeah. I know.
Especially so for me, I really feel like with the giveaways, the magic is like, it's kind of like the art show. It's like what happens afterwards.
Yes.
And so I would love help with like tweaking the language of like that letter that they get, right?
Yeah.
Or I did one, I've been doing a lot with the t-shirts. I tend to get a lot of t-shirt sales. So I'll do giveaways with t-shirts. And then I noticed that if I do, you know, sorry you didn't win, but here's, you know, a coupon for the shirt, then I'll get a lot more sales. But I just, you know, I would love to somehow get that really dialed in for each time.
Yes. 100%. And I do think, you know, especially with subject matter material like you, there are big groups, right? Like the Facebook one that you've leaned on, but there's other big groups too, you know, that dovetail, and certainly lots of Grateful Dead ones. I mean, that's still, even all these years after Jerry's died, is still a diehard fan base. I mean, it just never ends. It's life, right?
Yeah, it keeps going.
Yeah. Well, you're awesome. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you taking the time on the interview. Everyone go and follow Karen Payton Artist at Karen Payton Artist on Instagram. Yeah, excited about where the rest of the year is going to go. It's going to be your best one yet.
Me too. Thank you.
Let's go. All right. Thanks, Karen.
Okay.